Hey team, and welcome to the one where I talk about how I got my first job by the numbers, with help from index cards and Sharpies. Sharpies, where are you? Where are you? This won't work. Time to go on an adventure. Let's see, where are they? Where are they? Colors. Yes. Guys, guess what I got? Isn't she lovely? Isn't she wonderful? Look who likes the tripod. Little Mr. Leo. Oh, maybe not. Alright, so I got Sharpies now, so let's talk some numbers. In my job search, I applied to 42. You probably can't see that, can you? Let me get closer. 42 jobs in total before I found mine. They had varying job titles such as web developer, UI UX developer, front-end engineer, and JavaScript developer. Now, a lot of the jobs that I applied to were just jobs that I found on websites like Indeed. But I just want to take a minute and say, notice I didn't say junior web developer or junior UI UX designer. I didn't necessarily discriminate based upon what the HR posting said as far as whether it was a junior or a senior role. If it was a job that I really wanted or if the company sounded really cool, I kind of just asked if I could get a coding challenge to show where I was and if that lined up with what they were looking for. It worked in certain occasions and it didn't work in others. But I will say that 2 places that I got emails back from that I got to somewhere in the process, I heard back because I wrote a really intriguing cover letter, not because my skills necessarily lined up with what they were looking for. So if you can kind of sell yourself in a cover letter, writing something really strong, telling them why you would be good there and why you want to work there and why their company is awesome, it worked for me to at least hear back from a couple of different places. So that's always something you should take into account when you're looking at job postings. Maybe reach a little higher than where you're at and see what happens. All right, guys, back to numbers. So out of the 42 jobs I had originally applied to, I heard back from 6. Those 6 jobs I heard back from in 2 ways, or moved on in 2 different ways. So 4 of those jobs came back to me with a phone screen, and 2 of them left me with a coding challenge. This is kind of where the split is in the job hunting process. Typically, you're going to get a phone screen. Some places like to weed people out before they ever even talk to them and just send them a coding challenge. So for the 2 coding challenges that I did end up getting, I batted 50% and I moved on in one and I failed in another. So as far as this goes, I think when I failed on the one, it was a pretty simple coding challenge that I'd already done as far as what the process was. I needed to make a login page. And I don't know, it seemed to work for me, but didn't work for the person who was reviewing it. I don't know, there might have been a mix-up, but things work out. And for the other one that I moved on for, or moved on, they actually got back to me after I had already accepted the job that I have now. So I don't know how much farther I would have gotten in the process with them, but yeah. So 4 phone screens. Out of those, I got 1 in-person interview straight away, 2 coding challenges after the initial phone screen, and then probably the weirdest experience I've had in my job search, which is 1 online tech interview. So in-person interview and coding challenge is pretty straightforward. So let's talk about this for a second. Basically, this was a tech interview that I didn't have to go anywhere for. I was at home on my computer and we both logged into this kind of Google Doc type of thing that's a code editor where they can see what you're typing and they can type back to you. And it was a tech interview. So it was like a coding challenge. They had me essentially make a deck of cards and determine blackjack hands and that sort of stuff. I didn't move on from this. I I was told that in 6 months, once I have more experience, they would love to hear back from me. They liked my attitude, but apparently not my code so much. But it was probably the most interesting experience I've had, and weird to try to code on the phone and talking to someone, like, and not seeing them in person. It makes it really hard. But yeah, so one on the internet coding challenge tech interview, 2 actual code challenges, and 1 in-person interview from 4 phone screens. So 1 in-person interview from the phone screen, I got 0 job offer from it. So I thought the interview went really well. It wasn't technical at all. They didn't ask me anything. They didn't ask me to pseudocode or whiteboard, or no challenges whatsoever. It was just talking about my background and that sort of stuff. We had a good time. We laughed a lot. I thought it went really well, but I actually never heard back from them. I had to actually send an email to their HR person to find out that they picked somebody else. Good news is I found out that the person that they did pick was somebody from the boot camp that I went to that was in my class. So awesome, like, for him, and I'm super happy that he got a job. But they didn't pick me, so sorry. On the flip side, 2 coding challenges, I got 2 in-person interviews. Now, one of these is the job that I ended up getting, and the other one is I actually heard back from some of the people who I did the coding challenge for after I had accepted this offer. So I never went on the second in-person interview. But I got 2 in-person interviews from these 2 coding challenges that I got off of phone screens, which is awesome because one of them led to a job. All right, so I went on the in-person interview and I got my 1 job offer. And if you want to know more about this interview and how it went, I actually did a video about it a couple of weeks ago, so I'll go ahead and link that down below. And feel free to check that out and let me know if you have any questions about that interview process as well. Let's break this down. So 6 out of 42 jobs I applied for, I heard back from. That's 14%. Now, out of those 6 jobs, I heard back in 2 different ways. 4 of the 6 were phone screens. That's 66% of the time, and 2 of them were straight up coding challenges. 33% of the time, I got a coding challenge. Now, out of those, 4 out of 4 of the phone screens, I moved on in the process for, and 1 of the 2 of the coding challenges I moved on in the process for, 50%. Now, I ended up with, after everything was said and done and I went on to the next step, some of them were coding challenges and some of them were in-person interviews. I ended up with 3 in-person interviews, but one of them is a do not qualify because I ended up having a job before I ever got to it. So 2 in-person interviews, and I ended up with 1 offer and 1 no offer. So that's another 50%. And the last little thing is 1 job offer out of 42 jobs that I applied for, we're looking at 2%. Now, that number's a little bit skewed because I had heard back from a couple of places that I couldn't necessarily move on in the process to, just because I was already finished job searching and I had had my job. So that number isn't exactly right, but the moral of the story is the more jobs you apply for, the more you'll hear back, and the more you hear back is the greater opportunity you'll get hired. And once you get that first job out of code school or out of college or just being self-taught, from what I understand, in this scene, in the tech market, it's a lot easier to get your second job than it is your first one. So just keep applying and good luck. All right, guys, thank you so much for watching the video. And if you enjoyed it, go ahead and feel free to hit that like button. That's so awesome and it helps me out a lot. And then if you want to come back every Monday and you want to know what's going on in my world, feel free to hit that subscribe button as my cat attacks these index cards that I'm throwing around. There's another one. And if you guys have any questions, comments, concerns, feel free to comment down below. And like I always say, if I don't know the answer, I probably know someone who does, and I'll get that for you. And then, as always, if you guys want to share the video, I would much appreciate it and love you guys forever. So feel free to share this with whoever you want. We're just trying to build a community here, and it would be super awesome if that community grew. So if you're wondering why I have so many note cards, it's because I enjoy screenwriting, and as any good amateur screenwriter will tell you, you need a bunch of note cards that you never use to outline with. So note cards for days.